Hey, my name is James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about should you extend your lease? Now, if you have a leasehold property, it's most likely to be a flat or some houses, a few houses, maybe 1% of the market houses are leasehold as well. Now, over the last year, something has passed called the Leasehold Reform Act. This passed just before the Conservatives closed Parliament prior to the general election. And one thing that this covered was making it significantly cheaper to extend your lease. Now, I'm going to go into that and more in this video. So if you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit the bell notification. We've got tons of videos on leasehold, on house prices, interest rates, property investing and more. And while you're here, smash like, tickle like, do something to that like button, guys. That really helps me with the YouTube algorithm and means you're just a great person if you do it. So, the Leasehold Reform Act. Leasehold Reform Act. This was announced in the King's Speech around about a year ago, and it's something that actually got worked on very quickly. It was all about making it cheaper and fairer to extend your lease. Now, at the moment, if you have a leasehold property and you let that lease drop below 80 years, which is a lifetime, if you need to extend it, which you probably will at 80 years because not many lenders want to lend mortgages against it, you would have to pay something called marriage value. Let's just have a look at it as an example. Let's just say that property with a long lease was worth £100,000, but so that's with a long lease. With a short lease, let's just say it was only worth £50,000 because they can be worth significantly less. Now, if you extend that lease, it's going to be worth £100,000 again. So how they work out the marriage value, if your property has less than 80 years left, is they look at how much would the value of the property go up by. In this case, it's 50 grand, and they split that. So they say you will pay half of that. So the property is going to go up in value by 50 grand. You're going to give the landlord, in this scenario, the freeholder, the person that owns the building outright, you're going to pay them 25 grand to extend it, which is a huge sum of money. Now, this comes as a surprise to lots of people. You might get told this when you purchase a property. I've bought tons of flats. No solicitor has ever told me this stuff prior. And lots of people have properties that slip under 80 years. Now, I bought one that was under 80 years, knowing how it works, because I wanted to increase the value of that property. So the Leasehold Reform Act came along and it said, well, look, this is unfair. We're going to remove this marriage value and we're going to have a new calculation on extending the lease. They said that the cost of that would be around half. So to extend the lease now would cost £12,500. Much cheaper than this. Still expensive, but significantly cheaper. So that's one thing in the Leasehold Reform Act. A lot of people were super pleased to see. And this act actually passed in June, right? Just before Parliament, or May probably, just before Parliament closed, right? So they got this through. So the Leasehold Reform Act says you're going to significantly have a cheaper cost. Now, what they also said in here is normally when you extend a lease, you can get 90 years as an extension. 90 years. And they said that's not fair. So let's extend this lease so it never has to be worried about again. So in the Leasehold Reform Act, they changed it. So when you extend the lease, you can now extend it by 990 years, which will be the normal thing. That isn't negotiable with the freeholder. They have to give you 990 years. They also have to give you the cheaper cost to extend. Very good. Next is ground rent. In the Act, they wanted to abolish ground rent. But what happened was pension companies that own millions of freehold properties really put a battle up against it. They couldn't get that agreed before the dissolution of Parliament, so that was left out. But what is in there and was already done, this was done prior to this, is when you extend the lease, your ground rent is abolished. It goes down to peppercorn. So if you've got ground rent right now, you pay £2,000 a year, which some people do. I've even heard some of you in London pay £10,000 a year. Extend your lease and the ground rent will be abolished. So that is in there now. So this act passed. Now you might be sitting watching this video. It's come up along the lines of, should you extend your lease right now? And you're thinking about it. Should you extend your lease right now? The problem you've got is that while this is approved, it's gone through Parliament, the King's approved it, all of this stuff is now working through government to get active and live. The earliest this is going to happen is going to be 2025, but most likely when all of this will be done is 2026. Now, you might have a mortgage that's going to expire soon and you're worried about remortgaging and refinancing and you want to get this sorted right now. So here's what I did, because I've just extended that lease because I wanted to get out the equity from that property to buy somewhere else in the same block, which I did. So what I did was I went to the freeholder and I told them all about this, right? So I said, look, you could get 25 grand if I extended the lease right now, but I don't want to pay 25 grand. So I'm happy to wait until the latest 2026, but maybe next year, right? But you want your money, Mr. Freeholder, because right now you've got zero. You're not getting anything from me. So I know that in a couple of years I can get it for 12.5 grand. This is very similar to my story. But how about I offer you something slightly better so we can get it done sooner? So mine was around £25,000 as well. I told you're going to get 12.5 grand if I wait, but why don't I offer you 14 grand now? So that's more than you're going to get, but it's less than what I need to pay today, because any leasehold extension you can do on an informal basis. Now they have the right to say, no, I want the full asking price. And if that's the case, you've got two options: pay the full asking price or just don't extend the lease at this time. Now, I tried to negotiate to get the 990 years. I said, look, give me the 990 years, but my freeholder was adamant that they would only give me the 90. I said, look, we'll both be dead by the time this lease needs extending again, and maybe our children, unfortunately, as well. So why don't you just give me the 990? But they were really stern on that and said, no, that would be a deal breaker for us. So I just said, well, I'll be dead by then. So I extended for the 90 years. The ground rent got abolished. I extended for 90 years. I paid 14 grand rather than the 25 grand. I took out the equity and I got another deal that was a really good solid deal, a flat that I bought in Dorking for 120 grand, which hasn't been that price since 2013 in this area. So it worked out for me. So the answer to the video title is, should you extend now? Well, maybe. If you can go to your freeholder and say, look, this is what you're going to get, you could start at the 12.5 grand, right? I knew mine wanted a deal. You could start and you say, look, you're going to get 12.5 grand in 25 or 26 from me, but why don't you just get that money today? I want 990 years. They don't have to say yes to any of this, but some of them will. And I spoke to 10 leasehold solicitors, extension solicitors, after the act passed. I talked about this in the video, and they said a lot of freeholders are agreeing to these deals because they'd rather have the money today than just wait 2 years, because they can invest that money today, buy something else, buy another property, stocks and shares, go on holiday, whatever they're going to do with it. They'd rather have the money today. A lot of people would rather have that money today than wait 2 years. So this gives you an option. So the option is, legally, you can't force them to extend by 990 years. Legally, you can't force them to give you the cheaper the extension. But the smell of money and giving them that money now and showing them that you're educated and you know this is coming, this is a law, it's going to happen, that might push them to the point of, yeah, okay, let's do this. Maybe find the .gov Leasehold Reform Act page and send them that so they can read it and see it's a real thing. Let me know your thoughts, questions and opinions in the comments below. Do smash like, do subscribe. I've put the Leasehold Reform Act guidebook in the description as well. Do grab a copy of that. Check out all the other content on my channel, including this video right here.